Hello everybody and welcome to The Secret History Living in Your Aquarium. We've got some beautiful rice fish here. This is a variety that is very rarely found in the US. The color is going to be slightly off just because of the light changes going on outside. But here we have a lovely selection. We've got some daisy blue rice fish back here, which is a more southern variety found in the islands in Southeast Asia along shorelines as well. We have some Malawa shrimp, and then we have the red cap Medaka Japanese rice fish. So these ones have a nice orange head and beautiful blue eye. This here, we've got a female and a male of each in here. And we're going to be putting them in one of the tubs. Now, the last few days, I tested out putting one of them in here, and she's doing just fine. She's been thriving, eating mosquito larvae and all that, and I thought, let's put some shrimp in here too, see how that goes. I've just acclimated them to the water, and so I'm just literally gonna go ahead and pour them in like I just did. We've got some moss and some guppy grass, as well as some wood that is floating, and eventually it will sink. It was once sunken, twice floated. But these are an amazing fish, and if you don't know much about them, I'm gonna do another episode on them that is just focusing on all the different varieties. In Japan, there are over 485 recognized strains, varieties of these. See, you can see their orange is coloring up even as we speak, now that they're in a tank and not in that little cup feeling so vulnerable. But they get this beautiful pearl white body and an orange head, and those are called red cap. I sourced those as well as the platinum or pearl scale. The platinum is like a white, silverish white background, and then it has scales that look like opal. So they have kind of a abalone or mother of pearl shimmer to them. And so those should be a pretty cool looking fish when the sun hits this tank in the mornings. Now, when you're doing tubs, I'm in Seattle, so it gets cold here. Right now, it's 80 degrees today, but it's supposed to probably, get back to the normal of springtime around here, which is probably no colder than 40, 45 at night, and no warmer than 70 in the day, overcast kind of thing. The water in these containers, over here's my Daphnia container, and in here I have just a couple different live cultures of critters too, Infusoria, Daphnia, and some local, I don't even know what they are, nematodes of some sort that the fish like. And what I do is I catch them, strain them, strain out the very young ones, throw them back, and then I put the big juicy ones into a jar for the rice fish and all the other fish that I breed inside that enjoy live food. My pygmy sunfish also go in there too. Gulf Coast pygmy sunfish, the Elosoma gilberti. So the main objective here will be to spawn some fish. And so we've got a 1-to-1 male to female ratio in the tank right now. Actually, plus one female. So we've got two pairs, a pair of the daisy blues, which are a different species than the Japanese Medakas. And you can see they're already eating the mosquito larva that's in here. There's a lot of mosquito larvae in this tank just from the last few weeks of the weather warming up, and I think this tank will be self-sufficient in feeding them between just algae and nematodes and little snails and all sorts of stuff. Medaka ricefish are extremely hardy and extremely not picky. They are, in fact, the guppies of Japan. Not to say that Japan doesn't also have guppies. They have some really great fish across the spectrum, but we simply don't see the really cool varieties of rice fish that they have. And they can withstand all sorts of different temperatures. I've seen them frozen below ice. They're not frozen in place necessarily, although some carp and goldfish can do that. However, these are found all the way into northern Japan, and then they're found all the way down into the tropics as well. And all these color variations that you're seeing here are more domesticated. Since around the 1680s or 90s in Japan, people have been selectively breeding these, and they put them in clay pots, 2 to 8 gallons. I mean, sometimes you get a big 20-gallon like giant pot or something, but in these pots on their front porch, as well as in their gardens. And it helps eat mosquitoes. It helps kind of cool things off, and also just be a planter for different lilies and plant-loving, water-loving plants, plant-loving water. But with this live food, they should be spawning pretty well, I would hope. I'm watching them hunt already. As I said, the live food will get their instincts going. It'll fatten them up with all this protein that's in here. I'll probably come out and supplement some sort of flake food that has just some rounded vitamins in it, like maybe a color enhancing formula with some iron, as well as omega-3s and zinc and stuff like that, that will help their red, some iodine perhaps, will help their red show up really well. Plus I've got the Daphnia and the brine shrimp that I can always come over and feed them. The main thing I am worried about is raccoons. However, I'm hoping that with some naja grass or some guppy grass this year, that the raccoons will be a little less interested. The white rice fish definitely are going to be a target because they shimmer like none other. I mean, even like moonlight, I'm sure, is going to shimmer. Whereas the more natural color ones, like this one on top of the other ones, higher up in the water, they really blend in a lot better. You can see one against the glass right there. They've got the blue eye, but other than that, there's just kind of a metallic sheen on the blue daisies rice fish. They're much closer to the wild specimen in that they have a little bit of orange shimmer and a little bit of blue shimmer, but other than that, they are not they're not flashy or a color that is bold in nature. So we'll add some more lily pads, we'll add some more naja grass, and probably get some more rocks. But really, this is just it doesn't need any filtration. They can live in fairly stagnant water. They don't need a lot of aeration in their water. They're kind of like gouramis, licorice gouramis, or bettas, or goldfish in that sense. In fact, you can give them aeration. That's not going to hurt anything by any means, but you don't want to give them a lot of flow. That actually kind of upsets them. It can stress them out, and they're used to stagnant water in rice paddies, hence their name, rice fish. They're found in all the low drainages in agricultural regions of Japan and the Korean Peninsula, as well as China, Thailand, Cambodia, the Philippines, and Taiwan. And so I am so happy that through Aquatic Arts, which is linked below, and you can actually get these red cap ones. They are pricey in that they are some of the first orange cap Medaka rice fish in the US. They are a little pricier, but then there's other more common colors, like just the plain white ones and also the plain orange ones. They're very pretty, and they are much less money. There's some strains that fetch money almost up to what koi would fetch, hundreds of dollars for short bodies that have big eyes and big fins, and they've really bred them very similar to goldfish. And these ones are designed to be viewed from above, in that their markings are most prominent when you see them from above. You see that orange looks very prominent from above, the peachy orange color, but it is less so from the side. It's just a narrow band on the side. But they are kind of intended to emulate koi, and these Eastern Asian countries and regions have a very long history of taking care of fish and also breeding them intentionally with everything from bettas to the paradise fish, and these are similar to a killifish or a pseudomcgill. Kind of if you've seen the blue eye pseudomcgills or signifers or the celebes or pseudomcgill luminatus, pseudomcgill gertrude, very similar fish. Only they are much more tolerant of whatever you throw at them. They can take salt water, they can take fresh water, and they can take a wide range of pHs down to arguably 5 or 6, depending on who you ask, and all the way up to 8, 8.2, depending on who you ask. And I'm sure that varies with the strain. You know, when a strain has been very domesticated in the hobby, then it's probably not, hasn't retained a genome that focuses on that ability to survive in such diverse water parameters. But a lot of them still can really survive in much wider parameters than your tropical tank. And if anything, you want to worry about the high-end temperature a lot more than the low-end temperature. And that's true for all fish, but especially the ones that have a wide range of things. Now, these can withstand up to 100, 110 degrees reportedly when they sit in a bucket or a tank or a clay pot on someone's porch. That's not good for them. It speeds up their metabolism. It can cause kidney damage and so forth. And it's a good way that they could perish. So you don't want to put the pot in the sun all day long or your tanks in the sun all day long. But good morning sun is great. You can get some bulbs going, some floating plants, and some maybe some floating guppy grass, nausea grass, and whatnot. Now, inside we'll also see that they make an excellent just indoor aquarium fish too. But out here, we're just kind of testing the limits of this strain. I have never kept this red cap. Like I said, it's very new to the hobby in the United States. It's brand new territory for us. And even the pearl scales are not very common. There's people who have them and people who've brought eggs back kind of clandestinely from Japan, but it's not a huge industry, and it's a shame. I really hope it becomes more of one. And I would say they are probably the next step after guppies and live bearers. If you are interested in breeding fish and keeping fish, you don't need to worry about walking on eggshells taking care of them, as I've obviously been saying. But you also don't need to work very hard to get them to spawn. Now, they will eat their eggs and they will eat their babies, just like pretty much any fish, other than certain cichlids. But and a few bettas, I suppose. But they will have a clutch of eggs every morning or every other morning, and they'll have somewhere between 1 to 10 eggs hanging out behind them. The females carry them in a little purse type thing. It's a little it's mucus or a biogel that they secrete, and they carry that behind them next to their anal, in between their anal and I believe their pelvic or I guess pelvic fin. So they carry those, and then the male will fertilize them as well, and then they will stick them onto something. So that's why you want the floating things. You could also do a bare bottom tank with a mop, with a spawning mop, and they would gravitate towards that, and then you'd know where the eggs are and you could separate them. But I'm hoping that with only 5 fish in a 20-gallon tank and all this room and all the live critters they have to eat, that hopefully maybe some eggs are going to survive, especially when we get lilies and more little hiding spots for the fish. So we're going to try it out colony style. This is kind of an update on what I'm working on, and then I'm going to get back to catching their lunch. I know this area is a mess, so we're going to clean it up, and we're going to get another tank out here. But in this tank here, we've got all sorts of Daphnia, we've got all sorts of crazy bloodworms and mosquito larvae, not too much dragonfly larvae, but we do have some, and lots of bloodworms this year. I have no idea where they came from, but we have them. See, there's one right there, and you can see all the Daphnia. So that's great food for young fish or for priming other fish. In here, we've got little seed shrimp. much smaller and much smaller than the Daphnia, but better for the babies. And what I might do is I might use these containers, pull the lid out obviously, might use these containers, these simple Tupperware containers, to actually put the baby fry in. And then the fry can grow out in here. And if I want, I can actually move the fry back inside into the aquariums if the raccoons do end up bugging things. But we'll see how it goes. We're going to play it all by ear and see what happens. Let me know what you guys want to know or see, if there's a process you're curious about that I'm doing, or if there's a technique. And if you want to get your own setup going, I need to clear all this out and organize it. Originally I thought last year we did Danios and erythromicrons and celestial pearls out here, and they did just fine. But this year I think we're going to do various types of rice fish predominantly. Also, it's less of a loss if the raccoons do get in, as long as they don't get my initial spawners. And I still do have a good 8 inside pair, 4 pairs, I should say, so that in case these ones do get taken out, we'll be able to spawn more. And we'll do that before that happens. Maybe we'll get some netting or set up some sort of something, I don't know, to protect them, lids of some sort. But I love that the mosquitoes can come in. I have seen, crows and other birds kind of coming down to check this out in years past, but only once have I ever seen any sort of predation, which was a heron, actually. I have no idea how a heron found out that under this carport in this alley that there was fish, but it figured it out. So when that happens, I think you're just out of luck. All right, guys. Well, like I said, if you want some of these fish, Aquatic Arts is getting in more all the time, plus lots of good pond plants and tubbing plants for the outside season. Man, I'm embarrassed by this mess. But check them out. When you use the code SecretHistory15 for your first time, you get 15% off, plus entered into a giveaway. And if you use SecretHistory10, if you've already used that code and visited before, you get entered into the giveaway plus 10% off. And a lot of times they'll throw in, an extra fish or whatnot. Just if, you buy 10, they're going to send you 11 to make it right. And if anything dies, it's always covered. And right now, with everything going on, they're sourcing fish like these rice fish now. They'll bring them in the country. They'll bring shrimp in the country. And then they're going to have breeders in Indianapolis and in the Midwest, Chicago. They're going to have them raise it up. St. Louis. They're going to have them raise up all sorts of different fish and then supply the hobby back with them. So that is the deal with Aquatic Arts and why you should check them out. And if you guys know of any places to get some rare Medaka strains, please leave that in the comments. I'd love to know, and I'd love to share it. I'd love to see them. It's hard to even find Google images without using Japanese translation to try to find them. And a lot of times they're not listed under red and black, rice fish. They have a name that means something else in Japanese, like running river or whatnot, or the location that they were originally found, or the province where they were raised, or the family that raised them. So very cool fish, and a very fun project that a family could do. You can do it while you're on quarantine and lockdown, and I highly recommend it. So I will talk to you guys later. Take care of your critters, take care of each other, and of course take care of yourself, or you can't take care of all that other stuff. And I think if half of us did half of that, half the time, that our world would be twice as good. Right, honey? Happy Mother's Day, everyone. And get your mom some rice fish.